perform, where one of the initial attempts, and the reason we did that explicitly, was we were trying to see that given the complex dynamics that we have in a vast community like this, where we have this amount of diversity, we have vast geographical representation as well as functional representation, can we come up with a simple enough flexible model that not only addresses our current dynamics, but also helps us perform better and improves along with us. So what we gathered from our feedback, or in fact, before I head into the feedback, let me just reiterate on what we meant by all of the layers. So these are functions at different levels of abstraction, in the sense that you can think of focus teams as the ones, as in small teams which can live so for a short amount of time, can be very focused. But essentially, when we say focus teams, it's something that performs a unit of task. And you can define it almost like, say, if I take contribution to Firefox as a larger functional example, then an example of focus teams would be implement service worker. Actually, no, let's take servo because service worker is there. So implementing service worker in servo. That is maybe a focus team who are working on contributing to that particular feature set. So as the description says, focus teams are temporary teams. Tactical objectives, which means you have very clearly defined objectives. Scalable memberships, you start with maybe 2 people, you need more people coming in, or you have more people coming in, you plug them in, but you are focused on specific goals. And these are pretty much action-oriented, so think verbs. So implement service worker in servo is an example of that. Now, functional teams is the team contributing to servo can be an example of a functional team. Just take this as a loose example. I'm just trying to come up on the top of my head, trying to explain this better. And that team will be kind of a longer lasting because servo is a longer lasting project. It can have cross-cutting effects in the sense that it can help people learn Rust along the way, contribute to servo. It can help form small focus teams, telling people that, hey, let's start working on the small thing. We'll get this done together, ship it out, and we'll have one achievement out of the ground. And these functional teams are essentially one level of abstraction so that they have a slightly longer vision, but they are still goal-oriented. And they have, they try to do something in the long run. And in the process, they can come up with multiple focus teams. And Meta team is kind of an all-encompassing team whose sole purpose is to oversee that these functional and focus teams are actually doing what they said they do, which is not so much as forcing you to do it, but helping you, ensuring that the communication that is coming out of your team is reaching everyone, essentially ensuring that the whole process is smooth. And it also is responsible for, helping figure out what's the next kind of tactical challenge for the entire community, and do things at a pretty much higher scale of abstraction. Now, while we were discussing this, a common theme that came out was, hey, what about you're talking of Mozilla India, or I come from Delhi, I come from Mumbai, I come from Pune. What about my community, dude? You did not talk anything about it. So what we decided was, let's try and fit it, can you, to another dimension. So I started talking about dimensions. We have a functional dimension, which you essentially keep on doing a lot of stuff over time. But also, now we are talking of including a geographic dimension to it. And think of this as a X and Y axis, if you want. Essentially, this is a 2-dimensional structure that we are proposing now. I'll come to the more glued understanding, as in how these two fit together. But essentially, we are proposing an amendment to the initial proposal, which is add a dimension for geographic groups. And we have spent some time trying to figure out the best possible term that we can use. So probably that is something we can talk later. So one very, very, very important thing about geographic groups is that they are persistent over time. It's not something that a geographic group comes and grows, comes and goes, not unless a big asteroid hits Earth and that geographic boundary is no longer there. That's a different use case. We are not talking of that. uh, whose core purpose, as it states here, I'll read it out, core purpose is to enable functions that benefit from geographic coordination, which means I want to, let's say we want to organize a pan-India meetup in Pune. What does that need? You need people in Pune. But you need people in Pune who can handle logistics, you need people who can speak, you need people who can do lots of functions, but they are from Pune. Which means we are talking of a particular situation where the geographic representation of people matter, where they are physically or where they are present. So that's one of the founding principles that we are proposing for this dimension of geographic groups. And the second thing that we wanted to solve is we did not want to include additional complexity to the problem, as in to the proposal. What we wanted was to come up with as simple as structure as possible, as I am repeatedly saying, and along with that, help address as much concern as we want, or as we can, rather. So how do you become a member of a geographic group? One, and only one, you need to be present there. That's the bottom line. If you are physically present there, you are a member of that group. And this is a transient membership in the sense that as you move from one place to another, you, by virtue of being in that place, you become a member of that place. So there is no sign up. There is essentially no saying that, hey, I want to sign up for this community, let's do that. So that's not what it's going to be, which means we need information. And as you will realize, the reason we are not addressing everything upfront is these will bring in more questions than how will you know that I am in a particular city, or how will you know that I'm in a particular area. The short answer to that is we'll need to figure out a system where you can tell people or tell your community that you're present there. So let's try to answer those things later on, the how part. But what do we do? Number one, I'll repeat, you become a member of a geographic group just by your virtue of being present there, which means if you migrated from another city, you have just essentially become a member of the new community there. But the reason we're using the term group here is it's kind of a pretty broad thing, and its primary goal is to encourage regional coordination within a specific region. And this is something which is supported by the meta team. And by support, as opposed to the way meta team would oversee the other functions, is meta team would help this happen. A geographic group is not liable to report, or you can say that, to the meta team. This is just, if you need something done in Pune, people will come together, help get that done. But then it's the functional groups that actually start bringing up things. So I'll just repeat once again, and I'll keep it as simple as I can. So geographic group is essentially a geographic boundary, and any people present within that geographic boundary, by virtue of being present there, become a member. And as you move from one place to another, you essentially become a member of that. What this prevents is kind of when you move from, say, I moved from Calcutta to Bangalore, and to me it was a pretty big change, as if I'm kind of getting associated with the community here and all of those. So in that case, if anyone moves, it's just you're switching areas, but your functional areas of contribution can remain the same. What these people in this city need to know is that they now have another member who is part of certain functional groups. So can you move to the next one, George? I'll just move here, no, here. That's mirrored. Okay. So George came up with this, and this is kind of brilliant. It explains the whole two-dimensional thing that I was talking. So I'll just draw your attention to this big fat yellow arrows, and we have tall, thin yellow arrows. So the big fat yellow arrows are essentially showing that functional teams, and I said you can think of this X and Y graph. So functional teams are on the top, and they continue. They can have focus teams, where this would be focus team 1, focus team 2, but yeah, we were in a hurry. So focus teams would also continue. This is your functional direction, as in what function you're doing essentially is not changing. But we have a cross-cutting geographic group, which is your tall, thin arrows going down. And they simply, at any point, you can figure out, hey, who are the people who work in functional team 1 in geographic group 1? And essentially, that entire thing is just a membership. It's just kind of an attribute that you are present here. But if at any point you need to figure out what's the representation of a particular area, what's the, as in how do I become a member of a community in that place, the question then just moves to how do I go to that place and actually do something useful? Can I help more fellow contributors there to do what I'm doing, or can I learn more from them? The question kind of shifts. And that is what we are trying to do. So geographic groups permeate that. And if you move along any of the axes, unless you are going here, you are following the same function. If you are moving along the geographic groups, you are doing the same function, moving across location. You can also stay in the same location, move across functional groups. So that's kind of the two-dimensional structure we are talking of. But as far as we are concerned as community members, this is kind of under the hood how it happens. As far as we are concerned, what we should focus on is what function we are part of, as in what area are we contributing to. Think of this when you meet a fellow contributor, you ask them, hey, what do you contribute to? And then probably you will want to ask, and where are you from? Or we ask, where are you from, what do you contribute to? Think of these as answers to that. Where are you from? Geographic group. What do you contribute to is the more important part. And that is where the functional team comes in. Now, where the meta team comes in is, for the functional team, the meta team is kind of breathing down their necks that, hey, we have a big community, don't screw up, try to do a good job. And it's essentially the functional teams go and do that. But as far as the regional teams are concerned, the meta team says, hey guys there, are you okay? Done. So that's the kind of conversation with the meta team. Now, what we have in plan is, so how does a community, sorry, not community, as in how does a geographic group look like in that case? Because a lot of us know that many cities, many states, as well as many countries have these social media accounts and all of these. So how does that work? I think this is kind of a proposal, and we are all ears for a round of feedback again on this, is we can follow that same facilitator structure that we had proposed, that two people can be responsible as the point of contact for that community or for that area. And I'm I'm using the term community again and again because I'm trying to draw the parallel to what is now and what we are proposing. But from the technical perspective, these are more groups, and you become a part of that group just by being there, which we have used the term community interchangeably. But this is just to be correct about the usage of the term. And so when you start participating from any one location, you are a member of that. So how do you create new geographic groups? You essentially need someone staying there. It can also be some island in the Pacific Ocean, just saying. That can happen. In fact, I would like to see a crew on the International Space Station. So just saying, that's a viable thing. But no one creates that. If you see that there are enough things, if there is a big enough community in one area, if there is a big aggregation of people in one area, then probably two people can come up, say that, hey, we are taking charge of social media and you can come and help us. We are taking charge of ensuring that we talk to Meta team and tell them what kind of resources we need. Maybe it will be about conducting events or all of these things. But just remember that the functions that you perform are actually part of the functional timeline. Even if you are in, say, Pune, and you are trying to contribute to Rust, you are not essentially creating a Pune group by default unless that is what the Rust group needs. You are then actually performing the Rust-related functions while staying in Pune. Just once again to clarify on that. So I think that's more or less what I had in mind to explain. Anything else, George? Otherwise, over to you.
Great. Why don't you stay? Why don't we just do a quick round if there's any specific clarification questions or issues or ideas that people have with this this particular change, because it is a different proposal than the one from this morning. So just if you have a question or thought, put up your hand and we'll take a few of those if there are, and then we can moderate from there. Do I want to pass? We should probably pass it around.
So I would like to know how the communication flow is between the regional leaders as well as the India leaders. So we are belonging to specific geographic locations, and we have leaders at the local level. And how do they talk to the Mozilla India leaders who are actually leading the community?
So just to try and see if I understood the question correctly. You were asking how will someone who is in a city actually connect to someone who's representing, say, India at a larger scale, and essentially someone who's part of a larger Mozilla. How does that communication work? And you also asked that how will it connect to the, as in how will the mode of communication work with the functional aspect as well? So here's the thing. The reason we did not call this regional is because, as I said, these are pretty transient. And we are not really talking of local and then as in city, state, country kind of architecture, though that is pretty much possible. I'd like you to think of this as a filter on a search where you can search by people who are in India, you can search by people who are in Karnataka, India, you can search by people who are in Bengaluru, Karnataka, India. Essentially, you get the flow. Now, you can have regional representations, of course, but in this context, we are talking of similar communication channels that the rest of the community uses, which was part of the communications proposal. We did not talk about it, so I'm not really going into details now, but I presume it's going to use the same communication channel. And if someone has a concern that they want to raise about their location, it can follow the very same processes as the rest of the communication works. But on the overall, it's not really like you have got a big parent under which you have got small sister or sub-communities. Think of this pretty much as a permeable factor, just another dimension. So where you are present is like a filter. If I search within India, you show up. If I search within Bengaluru, you show up. If I search within even your, maybe the road you stay on, you show up. Depends on the granularity. But that is how this is. It's just one dimension. We are trying not to fragment it as much as possible. But having said that, we already, as I said, we already have a lot of representation that we do regionally, and a lot of interesting things come out of that. We get to know what people are doing in another location. That can continue the way it does, except we need to figure out a way to channel it through some communications medium where everyone is listening. Once we do that, I think that's not a problem anymore. Does that answer?
Any other questions?
What does a focus team do? What does it do? So functional teams?
So you're asking what does a focus team do? So focus, functional. Just here is a small error glitch here. This is supposed to be focus, focus. Not hocus pocus, I said focus, focus. So I'll just try to be brief here. George, can you just show me that 4-column things, the previous slide? Yeah, I'll just try to rephrase this. Okay, this is mirrored. Um, let's let's ignore the geographic group side. Let's take the focus teams. So focus teams are essentially when you have a unit of work to do, or as in a small contribution or a focus. Say, if you have a particular nasty bug that you want to solve in Firefox. Before that, can I ask what is your area of contribution so that I can give a proper example? Localization. Okay, let's take that. So, say in case of localization, you're trying to localize an add-on, a specific add-on, which is pretty popular. Let's say Lightbeam. You're trying to localize that. So in that case, the group which is localizing Lightbeam, since it's got a pretty strong focus, and it's going to be one big effort, each time there is a new release, new strings added, you'll need to convert those. So in that case, that's a focus team which is focusing on doing localization, or maybe for a specific language. Say for your language, for Lightbeam, is a focus group. You can have similarly for my language, Lightbeam, as another focus group. But then you have a functional team which can be the localization team, or it can maybe, I'm just trying to map it. If it's a localization team, then the localization team, being a functional team, which is the second column here, carries on for a longer time across projects, across requirements, across revisions. But each time they need to do something, what they do is they get a few people together, and just so that I'm very clear on this, we do that now. We just don't call them focus teams or functional teams. This is just a way to map it, give it a proper structure, so that if we have any grievances, if we see that it's not working, we can easily flag what is not working. It's like if I have to go and start telling someone that, hey, localization in this thing is real bad because the strings there are very ugly, I don't know, how can I translate them? We'll need to explain what localization is. We'll need to explain what add-on is. You'll need to explain what Lightbeam is. But think, if you have a focus group who are focusing on, say, translating Lightbeam to Marathi, in that case, what would happen is you would tell them, that, dude, how would you translate this particular sentence in Marathi? That's all you say, because they're already part of the focus team. They know what the focus is. So you have already got the context set. And then as you move to the functional side, which is the long-lasting localization part of things, taking the example forward, in that case, localization continues across languages, across teams. Now, there can be multiple layers. There can be, say, localization can have a focus team, which is slightly longer lasting. They focus on all kinds of translations to a specific language, say Marathi. And then you know that you have a set of people who do localization in Marathi. So when you need Lightbeam translated to Marathi, you reach out to those people. They say that, hey, we are 4, but 2 of us can focus on localizing Lightbeam to Marathi. So that is how you end up creating the groups, dissolving them as you achieve your target. But the localization team remains. And you take this feedback, that how did that process go, to improve the next time, as in the next team you create, the next communication you have, and as in just essentially going ahead. Now, I suppose you're clear about the meta team. What? So this is how the two things map out. What we are saying on the geography side is, on the geography, just worry about where you are now. There's nothing else you need to worry. So you say that you are doing localization in Marathi for Lightbeam, but you are based in, say, Delhi. Doesn't matter, you're still doing it from there, because you can do it. So the Delhi people know that, hey, we have one guy who can translate to Marathi. Does that answer? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so my question is, how much structure do the teams need? Like, how much structure do teams need? It's pretty understood for meta team, especially for functional and focus and geographical. Does that mean a team is basically just a Telegram group? Or are we going to have wiki pages for, like, as we had for task forces? And how rigid are they?
So one thing is, from what I understand your question, is what will, what will we call a team when we see a particular, will a team always have a wiki page, always have a discourse thread, always have a Telegram group? Short answer, there are two sides to it. One, we need to figure out a common way, and it's kind of half in the proposal. We need to work on it more, that figuring out the way everyone can discover what a team is, which can be a wiki page, which can be a listing page. We have still not logged on to what's the best mode of doing it. But let's say we have one. Let's say it's a wiki, just for example's sake. In that case, that wiki page will have a listing of what all teams are. Those teams, essentially they get a dedicated page. They can create their own sub-pages and as much information as they want. It might as well be that all a team needs is only a wiki page and they need a Telegram group. Maybe the team doesn't need Telegram group depending on its requirements. So it's pretty much up to the team what communication it needs, but it needs a persistent information to the world outside that team so that they know that the team exists. So structurally, this is how they are, but discoverability, as I understand is what your question is how do people know that such a team exists and how can they contribute to it, is a two-step process. One, a central place where you can find everything, which we still have to figure out what it is. And then it's up to the team to figure out what does it take to be a part of the team, depending on the team's requirement. Whether it's a localization, you need to know certain languages. Whether it's events or PR thing, you need to have certain interests to do that. So that is how it's going to be. We are still not decided, but that's the structure.
One additional. Within any given team, there is only one structural requirement, which is that there are 2 facilitators. That's the only structural requirement. Other than that, every team gets to define whatever structure it feels is best suited to deliver on whatever its function is. Right, which implicitly says every team should have at least 2 members. Yeah, quick question. Let's take this last question on this topic, and then what we're going to do is quick exercise, and then we have another round of Q&A.
Okay, okay. So, right now what I'm seeing, can you hear me? Is it clear? Yeah. Right now what I'm seeing, it is pretty similar to what we are actually doing. Yeah, existing. Yes, we have groups, Punjab group, Hyderabad group, Kerala group, and we are not involved with any other groups that are situated in India. We are not moving to another places. Where we are situated and how we are working, it's casual. I mean, it's casual in sense it's continuing in the same way, right? And coming to focus teams, I don't see any change in this as well. It's like already many groups are already functioning. Suppose let me take Hyderabad, as I'm coming from Hyderabad community. We have a localization group, developers group, where they are into functional, right? And functional teams are like all over India. We have a task force or vertical leads who are leading the projects. Am I right? Yes. And meta team, I should consider it as council. So I just want to know the difference. How much we have modified ourselves is my question.
Yeah, so interestingly, that's one of the questions they were supposed to answer later on. But since you asked, I'll try and attempt, probably give you an introduction so that they can take on and answer it in details. In short, I'll just work on the examples that you gave me. So you said that you're from Hyderabad, where you have a localization team, so you have a Hyderabad localization team, you have a Hyderabad, say, what was the other example you gave? Developers, essentially, like that. So let's start with assumption, as in the premise 1. We know that we have a lot of things which sort of worked for us, kind of did not work. What we lacked in the existing setup that we had before we arrived at this meetup is there were almost no way of changing a system while remaining within the system. What I mean is you have something which is troubling you, and the only way you reach out is by just maybe telling your neighborhood friend. But what we're trying to do is take the concepts which we really liked there, which already worked, club it with some aspiring process that we want to reach to, and see if we can come up with a structure which lets us reach that goal. So you are right in saying that we already have a lot of these things. So what's new? Essentially, the way we are trying to structure it into certain ways so that we can get in more accountability, more visibility, and more flexibility. Now, coming back to your example, and I'm just answering it on the brief because they'll probably pick on the details. So when you say Hyderabad localization team, I'd like you to think on that, the example that I gave him. Say you have a localization team, which is a functional team. You have a Telugu localization team, which can be a sub-team sort of thing. Think of that as a focus team. We can have a really narrow focus team, which is translating a particular add-on to Telugu, right? Now here, just pause and say, attached to that, now these teams, these are the people from Hyderabad. So we are already thinking about, we know who are the people in Hyderabad who are doing this. What we are asking is, can you just try and phrase that differently, saying that these are the people from Hyderabad who contribute to so-and-so. When we say Hyderabad localization group, we essentially mean that. But we are just saying, let's put it very explicit that whether I'm in Hyderabad or not, whether I'm in, let's say you change your job or you get a job and move to another city, does that mean you're not part of, you can't localize anymore? It doesn't mean that. We are distributed. So what we are trying to do is just change that statement from Hyderabad localization group to the localization functional team, which can have multiple focus teams, of which these people are from Hyderabad. So essentially, we are taking what was really good, what we really liked, what we hoped would work, what we wanted to work with, and what we aspire to do, club it into a simplified structure, which can be flexible, which can be improved as we go. And the thing we are doing now is an example of how we are improving the process. We started with one thing in the morning, we took feedback, we try to incorporate it so that it addresses larger concerns, and then we try to present it in a way that it becomes easy to work with. We don't want the process to be in your way. We want it to be an enabler. So that is why this structure is forming up. Could I answer your question? Yeah. You have any addition?
Once we are answering this particular question, even though we had this question to be answered afterwards, we already have like 95% of the questions answered. I just want to add one more thing, that when we have the previous model, some of those things that is coming seeming new or seeming not very different or little bit different, that actually makes a whole lot of difference as a whole in this particular context. So what's happening here, if you have a Telugu localization group from this particular region that is in Hyderabad, and there is another team who are Tamil localization group from a section, like if they're from Chennai, it's very difficult to actually scale to a point where all these localization teams are interconnected if you are going by that kind of structural model, right? You need to make sure each of those functional groups, which is split by region, they are also interconnected so that they're following the equal standard of using the tools and producing the content that is up to the mark for the release and stuff. So having a different approach where your regional representation is only based on where you stay. You move, change your job or change your college or whatever it is, you go to Delhi, now you're part of Delhi community. But you can be part of that Telugu localization group from a different. Now you don't lose the touch of anything. You don't need to switch all the other stuff. And as part of the localization functional group or Telugu localization focus group, you still are part of that thing. You don't lose touch, you don't lose communication. Everybody you worked with, it's the same thing. It's just into a new city, that's about it. So meta team is nothing but a matrix. Like you have, in the morning I talked about bubbles and balls and water and stuff. So the bubbles and balls are all those kinds of teams, different teams, and the entire water that's giving it the form, that's kind of the meta team you can talk about. They don't execute anything themselves, but they help others achieve, like they hold others accountable and help others achieve the goals.
Cool. So let me just make one tiny point that I think got missed in this that I think is important as well, one of the things, especially the focus teams, that I'm really excited about is they also allow us to build campaigns and activities that are cross-function and cross-geography really, really efficiently. So for example, let's say, just as a crazy example, that there's going to be a maker party kicking off around September 15th. A wild example, not, it's a real example. There's a maker party kicking off September 15th. You could build a focus team around that. And that focus team will draw from the marketing functional team. Let's say there is a marketing functional team. The localization functional team, let's say there is one. An events one, let's say there is one. And we'll be able to draw from various geographic groups to say, all right, we are now a focus team that's going to deliver Maker Party to, 25,000 people around India over the period of a month and a half, or something along those lines. And that is one of the things this structure enables really smoothly, that I think at times this community has been very good at it, and times we've kind of struggled with a little bit too. Okay, so we've just kind of dug in. I'm conscious we're at the end of the day, so we need to keep energy high, and there's also a function to keeping energy high. What I'd love everyone to do is we're going to, not yet, but when I say so, we're going to stand up, and we're going to kind of crowd around the middle of the room here as much as we can possibly crowd. And what we are going to do, not here by the camera, but behind here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a very quick spectrogram exercise, for those of you who know what that is, on this structure. And it'll be a good energizer, and also I think insightful to see where we sit right now. And I'll explain it once you're up. So everybody stand up, crowd around the middle of the room, shake your legs, shake your arms as you are coming so that you are also energizing yourselves, getting the blood flowing again. Okay, and now, whoa. I got it. We're good. Okay. All right. Come closer. Get close to one another. Imagine it is the Delhi metro at rush hour. For those of you who've never been to Delhi, imagine it is a busy market or what have you. Okay, and what we need to do is just push those chairs into the table so there's lots of room by that side. So how many of you have done a spectrogram type of activity before? Okay, basically, so not all that many of you. So what it is a human, it's a human barometer is the best way to describe it. So what it does is it allows us to, as a group, understand where we sit on a particular question. So we'll test this out on a question that is not of great significance, although it might be of great significance, and just to get a handle on it. So the fun question we'll test it on is, what I've noticed is we eat two types of bread during meals. It's either naan or chapati. Is that right? So the question is, basically that side of the room is naan, and that side of the room is chapati. And what you want to do is stand relatively how much you love one or the other towards that side of the room. So for example, if you absolutely can't stand chapati, you never order it, you will never order it in your entire life till the day you die, then you will stand on that side of the room right at the wall. But if you're I kind of 80% like naan, but 20% like chapati, then you'll kind of stand at roughly the 80%. Okay, so ready? We're going to see what our food desires are. So that side of the room is naan, that side of the room is chapati. Okay, so go. Put yourself on the side of the room. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Okay. So it's a pretty quick exercise. It looks like we have minor preference in the room for non? Any non-advocates? Who's like a strong on this side? Are you strongly like 80% non? Okay, why? Like, tell us why you love non. Just like, no, like why? Come on. Shout it out. It's different than normal chapati. It's got like a little more bounce to it. Okay, what about on this side? Why do you love chapati? It's healthy. Awesome. Okay, that was super silly and fun. Although we know, anybody want to give this message to the restaurant tonight? More naan than chapati should be produced. Okay, second question, much more important. How many of you are feeling, so on this side of the room is like, I am totally comfortable that I understand the proposal that has been shared today. On that side of the room is, I might as well have read something in Greek. And then like Konstantina is here and can translate it for you, who's Greek, but like it's written in English. So it's more like, hey, like I'm not there. I need more time. I need to understand it better. I need to have the opportunity to ask questions. So that side is like, I'm not there. I don't really understand it. That side is like, I definitely understand it. I'm feeling really good about my understanding. Not whether or not you like it. This is about whether or not you understand it. Okay, so ready? Go. Rearrange yourselves. How much you feel you understand the proposal. Totally understand. Okay. All right, so great. This is like meant to be a pretty quick exercise. So cool. What this tells me is that our team, this is actually useful feedback, Deb and Venetia. Deb. This is useful feedback. We have people who I think tend toward understanding the proposal, but I think we still have some work to do because we have a lot of people pretty clustered in the middle, and then some people are kind of like, I'm not sure I quite understand it. So I think we have some work to do both like in the next day to really kind of get there. And we have some time, we have more time today to be able to do that. Okay, so last question, and then we'll sit down again, is so based on your current understanding, how comfortable are you with the proposal that has been proposed? And so this side would be like, I'm good to go, let's make this happen, no final questions, like, let's rock this out, guys. And this side is like, absolutely not, I'm going home tonight. Okay, so rearrange yourself based on like what your understanding is, where you would roughly kind of put yourself in terms of comfort with the proposal. Okay, again, so like really good. So there's nobody going home. Awesome. We didn't piss people off that much. Good job, good feedback. I think there's a lot of people kind of weighted toward this side. Is anybody stuck and cannot move? Come on, these are like, think about where they live. Like you guys are very effective at moving through crowds, and this is the outsider. Sorry. I'm like I'm living in Germany now, where like if anybody touches anybody in a public space, they're like, oh my gosh, respect my space. Okay, so I think what we have here is good feedback that we're getting pretty close. There's still some people pretty like kind of negative-ish in the sense that it's like not quite there, not where we need to be. And so I think what we need to do is have those conversations both tonight and now. And I think we definitely want to get people, like a larger group of people there by really refining this proposal in the next kind of hours and day. So that's super useful feedback. So thanks everyone for doing that. And grab a seat wherever you'd like. Watch the cables as you come by. All right, so what we're going to do now is a Q&A. So I know this is a lot of like not super interactive. We don't really have another way to do it. We are going to do another, is it 7:20 that we're supposed to end? Is that right? 7:15, 1-5. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a Q&A for about another 20 minutes. So you guys have to fly through those questions. A lot of the questions will have been generated from questions this afternoon that have been summarized and prioritized. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Venetia and Deb, who is going to give the shortest answers of his entire life. And Venetia is going to ask poignant questions.
Thanks, George. So guys, we have tried to, consolidate all your questions, like most of the common.
We are waiting for the stream to be back live again. After that, it's live. All right. Do that.
Okay, so we'll try to answer most of your questions, and if suppose you have still more questions, you must be having post-its or notepads there. You can jot them down, and maybe you can get in touch with us in person, and we would be able to answer yours. So starting with the first question, so what is the time frame of implementing this new model and new structure?
So that question came up a couple of times. If the question was, when do we start implementing it? It's about this event, like this is where we start implementing it. And if it's about when we are done implementing it, it's almost never, because this is a self-evolving structure which will keep on being patched for betterment. But we will be in a good shape in a couple of months going forward, starting today, if that's the question it was asked, like how do we proceed?
Why do we need a complete restructure?
So this question has already been answered in parts. Yet again, for the record, I will just go through it as well. There were lots of concerns about how the previous model was working out. Lots of people had concerns that it's not working out well. And even though some people agree that previous model was working out fine, a couple of suggestions that came in as a form of proposals, open proposals, one explicitly said that current model works, we don't need anything else out of that. The point was, if we are open for a complete restructure, we are keeping our options open for a complete overhaul, different kinds of experience and all these things. Some things might not be possible to be implemented in the previous format and just revamping it. So to be able to have very open and flexible structure, we have started this restructuring from scratch.
So the next question is, like, how does the onboarding works with this model?
This is a very interesting question, and we need to really be able to understand the answer so that we are on sync. So when do we talk about those functional teams? Each of those functional teams, each one of those functional teams will have to have plans for how do they onboard new people. Many questions about those onboarding processes also about what's the criteria and all this other kind of stuff, which already has been mentioned in the document like that we shared in the morning. So it's nothing much. If you're passionate, if you're capable, if you have time or enthusiasm to participate in this community, you are in. Who is stopping you? Like, nobody can stop you from contributing. right? So that's how you start contributing. And onboarding, as in the sense, each of the teams, functional teams and working focus teams, they are supposed to document their whereabouts as well as progresses. So any new member who is not yet part of the community, getting in, trying to understand the teams, what they work on, who to reach out to, everything they should be able to discover from those documented, if a team has done decent enough job documenting their progresses, right? So in that case, that's how a new person starts getting, like, understanding the situation, understanding our community, figures out what they want to work with or work on, and then gets involved into the process, as long as they have time, energy, and capability, like skill set.
So how are we going to measure the effectiveness of this new structure and new model?
That's a very interesting question. That kind of is a question that is a, yeah. And the easiest answer is, we already know what was the results from our previous model, like how much we achieved. Where did we land after having a run of 2 plus 3 years in that model? So what was the success? What are the metrics that we can infer? Now, after starting to implement this model, after giving it a couple of months, let's say 6 months, we can reevaluate where we are, how things are progressing, and compare that with the previous data that we have. If that looks better at that point, then we can readily infer that this is working out better. If it's not, then we can try and understand which are the parts that is not working out, and then try to fix those things. Make sense?
So how about the existing task forces? Would they be dissolved?
Yes.
Okay, that was quite precise. Okay, so who sets the goals for the functional team?
The functional teams will set the goal for themselves. Whether those goals are aligned to the purpose of the community and the global community, Mozilla community, that's the part where a meta team will be able to guide them if they need any help. If that doesn't align, they will be able to explain it to them that it doesn't align, and stuff like that. So essentially, it's on each of those teams to be to evaluate themselves, know what they're supposed to do, and then figure out this is what we are looking ahead. Within this period of time, we should be able to achieve this, and these are the things we need to have. Setting all those boundaries, limitations, criteria, it's onto themselves.
So would there be any rotational policy for that?
Okay, so this question is not actually a continuity question. It is more on like, how do we manage rotations, or will there be any rotations? How do we keep on changing people from those positions they hold and stuff like that? So there are a couple of things to note here, couple of very key concept that is not very usual or practiced in most cases, in most communities, in most situations. One thing that we're not having those positions to hold, like power centers. Essentially, the way we are building this community, there's no power center or of any sort. So that's one thing. Second, we are having 2 people for each of the facilitation model, like people who would be the interfaces, contact persons and all these things. All those roles will always be consisting of 2 people. So one person, when that person falls off or retires or cannot give enough time and stuff like that, the other person keeps on continuing. So that's one thing, that immediate nothing breaks, essentially. Operation doesn't stop. Now, question is about who will be the new person here. there are two options now. The one we are going ahead with is that the team to decide who fits best for that role and agree upon that. Like the entire team agrees upon, okay, so this is the person we should be going ahead with, and they go ahead with it. There's no upper body or hierarchical model that like goes above, bubbles up and says that, no, you need to make that person this thing. Or there's like open voting for everybody to, usually that's not the case. It's usually who the team is comfortable working with. And as long as that's happening, it's fair enough, it's good enough. One more thing is that if nothing like that happens, like what if one team has those interface people, like people who are facilitators for those teams for a long period of time, and the team is doing pretty good. In that case, does anybody really need to change the roles just for the sake of it? If there are two people in that role for a long time, and things are not going well, would a forced rotation on every team fix that problem? Would you not rather particularly handle that challenge in that team, or forced rotation in every team? Okay, so that was kind of a long explanation. I know this is a hard concept to grasp. This on paper does not look very interesting or amazing or very promising. Let's try that out. If that fails, we'll get to know it fails, then we can fix this.
How are we defining team memberships?
So the question actually was like, what are the criterias for those functional teams, working groups, and all the other kind of stuff? Or like to be facilitator, what are the criterias, who defines, who nominates, who votes, and all this other kind of stuff. Like lots of questions were there, which kind of resonates with this, like boils down to one single question, like what are the criterias to be part of those teams? There's no easy answer to that. Like there's no one answer that fits all. Each of those teams will have different sorts of criterias, and all those things will be documented for each of those teams. Like this team needs these things for you to be part of it. So that will differ from team to team. Second, working so with those focus teams, this is more about whether you align with that particular goal to achieve. Like focus teams will be focused towards getting things done within a limited amount of time. So whether you have time, capability, and enthusiasm to work in that group, as long as you can take part in it. Focus groups are not limited by numbers. They can grow as much as they want. Take an example of that net neutrality campaign, right? Would you mind if the net neutrality campaign, the people working and supporting that grew beyond thousands? You'd not. You'd actually like it. The more people in it, right? So working groups will be like that. So as long as people are getting into it, it's fine. Let's have them. So essentially, those are the answers for functional teams. There is no preset rule that applies for all of the functional teams.
How does the arbitration process works?
Okay, so if you can try to find this common theme that each of those teams are trying to be self-sufficient, trying to set their own goals, trying to learn from their mistakes on themselves, we are trying to create a system where there's not too much of parenting or spoon feeding involved, or people always looking at your shoulder whether you're doing things right or wrong, right? So in that model, it obviously makes sense to allow those teams solve their own issues as much as possible, to allow them to discuss about the particular decision that needs to be made, what are the different arguments that is there, lay down the reasoning behind those things. Say, for example, there are 3 strong arguments. each of the person with those strong arguments, they give the reasoning behind that, then everyone else try to understand which one makes most sense. And it's a process of discussion, essentially, that they go through and eventually try to understand which one is the best one. It's not exhaustive, in the sense it does not mean that always it will resolve at that stage. There would probably still be conflicts that would not resolve. In that case, that needs to bubble up to like, the very next thing would be the facilitators of those teams will try to help them. If we are a part of team, like say for example the first bench and the first table, and we too are having the confusion about making some decision, and these two gentlemen are the facilitators of the team, they will try to help us understand which one makes more sense, for us to decide which one we go ahead with. Even that fails, then this bubbles up to the meta team to understand. And we really hope that doesn't happen. That needs not to happen. People are mature enough or professional enough to actually understand which is most reasonable decision to go out with, instead of having personal biases, personal choices, and all these things. Oh yeah. Sorry about that thing. Thanks, Kaustav. One thing I forgot to mention is that all these processes, when there is a grievance or there are like unresolved conflicts and conflicts bubbling up and all these things, each of those situations will actually be documented. So nothing goes undocumented in these things. So anything, that's the reason we said that we really hope that those things don't bubble up. If that bubbling up, those things will be noted down. These are the conflicts that's coming from this, these are the reasons, and all those contexts will add up and probably will be analyzed at the end of, say for example, 6 months or 3 months, when we're doing self-evaluation or self-checks next time.
Okay. So how officially Mozilla participation model fit into this model?
Right. This was an interesting question as well. So it asks about Mozilla reps, the club leads, and all the Mozilla's participation teams, different various structure or model that they have, global the models or participation models. How do they fit into this model of ours? So the easiest answer is there's no restriction or there's no particular privileges. So nobody gets to be part of something or is escalated to a particular level or anything of that sort because that person is a rep or a mentor or counselor, something of that sort. It's basically anybody who is capable enough to do something, enthusiastic enough to actually getting that opportunity, and has passion for Mozilla mission and our vision, that person should be able to do that. So that's about it. There's no correlation between these two.
How does the self-check works?
How does the self-check works? Costa, would you want to? How does the self-check work, self-evaluation works? I think the question was, how do we know that the self-checks are working? No, that's
Okay, how do self-checks work? To be honest, we have a few thoughts in mind. We haven't really jotted down every other thing, and that is, I suppose, something that we want to hear from everyone. We are just trying to give you a structure here that we need self-checks. So how would self-checks work? Two dimensions to that. One is a fluid, as in constantly doing self-checks. Another is everyone getting on the same page that everything is all right. So number one, if you have any issue that you are seeing, or if you're having any difficulty in contributing to a certain thing that you want to contribute, or if you're seeing someone else having a problem and they are not being able to voice their grievances, then you should be able to bubble it up to your, and by bubble it up, we don't mean a higher authority. We simply mean to people who can help you with a situation like this. So if you are having a problem, then you contact some of your teammates try to resolve it. And what you do is, at each point, try to document anything that you faced. And this documentation initially can be part of the team's internal documentation. For example, if it's a localization team and you know that using a certain software did not work. And by grievance, I don't just mean that you, as in, I'm saying I don't like this guy, get him out of here. It's not like that. It might be almost like, I don't like his camera, we need a better camera. That's also a valid grievance. We can't always have these poor quality cameras at our events. So that is a kind of a feedback that goes in. But unless you document it, someone who's coming in next and doing another event of similar scale won't know that a very good camera is essential for a good event. So this is how self-checks help, that you are not just ensuring that you are being part of the process, improving it, but you're also helping others by giving out certain information which you have faced. I would just like to draw a simple parallel. I guess everyone here has heard of Mozilla. So what we are trying to build, the vision is kind of a Mozilla for humans. So if you think that our community is one big software, these self-checks, the grievance reporting, and essentially ways of logging it, letting others know that, hey, this existed, it was either fixed or it won't fix, or it was invalid, or it was a duplicate. We can probably do something like that. But instead of going overboard, just to wrap it up, what we are trying to do here is self-checks are, as in the way they work, is you try to ascertain that, hey, is everything working all right? Is there a chance of improving what we are doing? And how do we improve it? Constantly keep on asking these questions. Now, as to how exactly we've performed the self-checks, how will teams collaborate, how will teams across geographical boundaries collaborate, that is something we need to figure out, and that is what we need to get started doing. And we have thoughts, but we need to hear back from you. So does that explain?
Yeah. Thank you, Kaustav. That pretty much explains almost everything. One more thing that I will give you as a case study or as an example is that you are attending this event, right? How many of you have attended previous Mozilla India events? Previous Mozilla India, like pan-India events? Okay, not too many people, which is good. Like, we are having lots of new faces. Like, if you have attended previous Mozilla India event, does this one look or feel better than the previous ones? Like, so okay, we have live streaming. Like, for me, wow, this is something betterment. So this is at least one thing that we have better. Probably we have. Point is, if it looks like we are having the next event better than the previous event we had, because we learned something from there and we tried implementing better tactics in the next one, that means we already self-evaluated, self-checked our existing thing, and then we are trying to do it better. How about we implement the similar kind of strategy for other teams, other processes as well? That's mostly what self-checks are about, and doing it very procedurally.
How does personal biases affect it?
So how does personal biases affect this system? As long as this community is consisting of humans and not robots, that will always be a concern. It will never be off of, like, immune to personal biases or choices and stuff like that. But the way we are setting the ground, we're trying to ensure that personal biases or choices and all these things matter lesser and lesser and lesser than it might otherwise do in other different models. So it does matter. We are not immune to that. We'll never be immune to that, but we'll probably be less vulnerable.
So can you explain the mode and mediums of the grievance reporting? Like, how can grievances be?
Okay, so regarding grievances, there are lots of questions, but which, like, so when you are listening to these questions and feels like, okay, I asked this question, essentially most of those questions are asked by at least 5 people or more than that or something like that. So we had to re-summarize it, like rephrase it, and we are asking. So regarding grievance, there are lots of questions about anonymity, mode, which kind of forms do you use, and all these other kind of stuff. So we will have a process where there will be a particular body who will deal with all those grievance reports. There will not be chain of commands or anything of that sort. It will be one hop process. Like you reach out to one team, they resolve a problem. There will not be lots of steps involved into that. How do you report it? There are different mode of anonymity, whether you want to share your name, your details, and everybody involved and all these things, or you don't want to share anything as such. You just want to report something for the community's betterment. Everything will be allowed. Different modes will be there. We'll try to document it. Like we are working on documenting all these things, but we have already plans for that. So all those mechanisms will be there. In case, if like one more particular point is there, if you're trying to report something about somebody who already is in that grievance arbitration team, in that case, the team will temporarily make that person not take part into this decision making for the conflict of interest, and then go on about resolving that problem. And then if everything is right, then probably that person will get back into the team again or not, depending on the situation.
Okay, so we are done with the first part of the questions. So do we have time to take the second part of the questions? Like 5 minutes? Okay, so I think one-liner would be enough for these, because since we have already, this is the reiteration of the questions. So,
So second phase of questions are, like, these are the ones which was having lots of traction, lots of people asking similar questions and all these things, and we needed to answer those questions. And these questions are interesting, and even the second phase has two parts to it. The first part is we don't have good answers to, but a good answer, like it's not that we don't have good answers to, it's like we can try explain over and over, but it still might be a difficult concept to grasp if for anybody until they really try to look for the answers. We can try still, or we can give a written answer of any form later on, if that helps. So that part, taking a first question is enforcing inclusion and diversity. Like, how do we enforce inclusion and diversity in our community? So as we explained it in the morning, we are not enforcing, like we're trying to enforce less and less and less thing as much possible. We're trying to not enforce, we're trying to enforce as little as possible. So inclusion and diversity, as long as we are not biased towards one particular kind of community members, then inclusion and diversity is already implemented, like fine-grained, implicit into it. As long as we don't say only males are allowed to join the community, that means we are inclusive enough for females to join the community, right? As long as we don't say that, oh no, only students are allowed to be part of this thing, non-students would not. So we are inclusive towards the professionals. So in that sense, as long as we don't make specialized rules, and not only not make specialized rules, okay, so as long as you don't set up for those biases and don't practice that, it's not that not only say that, you don't internally practice that as well, inclusion should already be part of the system. If that is not the case, if somebody identifies one particular team or one particular section or somewhere this is not the case, that becomes a part of the self-check. That becomes something that we should be reporting to the right set of people or right set of team, so that it gets resolved. If you feel that this team is actually not following this diversity or inclusion, they're not inclusive enough, they're not diverse enough, they're very limited, and they don't want to expand from beyond that, you should report that. That should be there, which is a grievance reporting system, model.
Hi, because this question came up, there's actually a session tomorrow about diversity and inclusion. And Larissa Shapiro, who is not here, but she gave me some slides. Basically, it's like diversity and inclusion is not being forced. Should be like part of our system, of our culture. We're open, so it's not something like we say, oh, we need to make sure that we're diverse and inclusive. It's not something we need to make sure. It's something that comes natural into us. And it's also something that is a Mozilla strategy, how we actually maintain that and how we actually making sure that we're not getting out of those norms. And thank you for anyone who made that question, because that's an open question for tomorrow's session.
Thanks, Constantina. So as I said, and thanks for phrasing it beautifully, I struggled. Yeah, so why enforcing is not probably the word we're looking for. We do need to we do need the community to be inclusive and diverse, but we don't need to ensure it with any different rule sets. Now, okay.
So as we have been actually we asked already like how we will create those teams, I mean the functional teams. So as of now, many team members are not present right now who actually formed the team in last year. So what should we do? Like how again we will inform them, like are you will be going to part of this or we will start it?
As we already answered, the previous all those task force are dissolved, essentially.
But if we do like this way, again like some home busting comment will be.
That's a good feedback. We'll definitely think about it. Now, explanation of meritocratic process. Many people asked about it. Trying to understand the meritocratic process. What is the meritocratic process? How does that work? Some people. So I am not going to explain one thing. I am not going to explain meritocratic model here, meritocratic process here. I may help anybody who wants to understand offline, like you can, offline as in sense, online also might be like if you want to drop me an email or ask an email and try to understand that, it's help you. If you want to catch me outside, that's fine. Point is, one thing that many people are confusing, that meritocratic model with seniority concept. That's not the same thing, not at all. In meritocratic model, you don't have in seniority, like they're radically different things. In meritocratic model, it does not matter who the idea is coming from, whether that person is old or young or a student or a professional, or as long as the idea itself has its weight, merit, it should be considered. So don't confuse meritocracy with seniority. That's one thing, that because lots of questions came in and that always confuse the meritocracy with seniority. They're not the same thing, not at all. That's one thing. And if you want to understand details of meritocratic process, please do some lookup, like go online, try to look up what does that mean. If you still don't understand, I can help you out with that, but that's afterwards. Some explanation about the, some people wanted explanation about the recognition model, like how recognition model is gonna work out in this particular setup. Okay, I'll do a quick round of show of hands. How many people are interested about this question, like explaining how the recognition model works out? Raise your hands up properly. So yeah, we had to go through those many questions essentially. Yeah, almost. And chomp it down to one question. Essentially, it's people, and you can imagine all those questions were not the same question. But end of the day, all of them try to understand how recognition model works. We will be trying to have enough data points of people's activities. Like, how many of you know about the Mozilla India Developer Leaderboard? You know about it, right? So what it gave is it gave recognition to those developers who were submitting bugs on for Firefox, and that was a good recognition. Many people did not know optimizer Girish Sharma before that. They got to know. It was recognition for him, right? We are trying to get more and more data points around more and more different functional areas. And that's what will be the core of recognition for us. Now, many of you also have asked about rewards. We will not be implementing any reward model as of now or as such. If Mozilla wants to reward the contributors by their recognition model, well, like recognition by their activities, we will have enough data to prove that who worked how much in which field that might justify somebody getting rewarded. But Mozilla India will not be actively rewarding the contributors. Mozilla India will be recognizing all the contributors through their activities. Does that make sense? Understood, right? Okay. And the last part is a trust first model. Many people try to understand that. I just want to address that if you still don't understand that, yeah, so we are available. Come to us and ask those questions. We will be able to tell you more. There are lots of other questions like university tie-ups and referral programs and all these things. We didn't particularly consider that those should be part of. What? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So those were the those could be part of that main discussion, main questions. That even now we are out of time. So you can imagine there are lots of things we had to discuss. So, and a couple of questions are there that seemed interesting, but we couldn't quite get it. So if you can go there, all of you can go there, try to understand it, and if you figure that, okay, no, this is the question I asked, and I can explain it better, find us afterwards and try asking that question again. We probably might be able to give you better answers, but we couldn't quite get those questions, so that might help. So that's pretty much about it. I'll hand it over to George to go to the next phase of the session.
Great. First of all, a quick hand for Deb and Venetia. Like that is, and Kostov as well. Super hard work to be able to do that, to respond to things in real time, and recognizing this is very much a work in progress that we're building together, and this type of feedback allows this proposal to get stronger and stronger as the weekend goes, and sets us up for continuing to evolve it. Really quick check, because we're going to be in here for a little bit longer. How many of you are finding it too cold in here? Okay, I think we can like confidently turn up the heat. Great, awesome. Let's turn up the heat. All right, I feel like I should have like a big guitar in my hand and start wailing away. Cool, so here's the thing. We don't have that much time to be able to go into a deeper Q&A. What would be great is continue to capture your questions, and can we use the wall here as well for new questions? And put them on the wall here, this pillar.
Some people are pushing them more moderator.
Okay. I didn't, yeah, if you're able to put questions in Mozilla Moderator, that would be amazing. I haven't seen any in there yet. There's one. Okay, it just got put in like 2 minutes ago then. By one person? Okay, keep putting them in there. What we'll do is we're going to aim to get to those tomorrow, or we'll tap you. We'll also be able to communicate those, and this will continue to be refined. What we want to do now, though, is actually get into the nitty-gritty of starting to build out those teams. And the way that we'll do that is we'll work at our tables. So if you're at a table with only like 2 people, maybe join another table so that we can have a few more, 2 or 3 people. So you guys in the middle, maybe join another table. And you guys, why don't you join one other table? And each of you should have one piece of flip chart at your table, or a large piece of paper. What I'd like you to do is to draw a line down that paper to cut it in half, probably landscape view. And on one side is going to be functional teams, and on the other side is going to be focus teams. What would be great is we want your table to, in the next 10 minutes, so this is going to be really, really quick, to brainstorm a list of functional teams and a list of focus teams. So very, very quick. Guys, can we be quiet so that I can explain the instructions? Hello. So let me just explain the instructions because this is going to be important. So on one side, you're going to generate a list of functional teams. On the other side, a list of focus teams. For the focus teams, because these can be very, very small, don't make them small. Think about fairly big projects that Mozilla needs to advance over the next 6 months or so. So one example would be Maker Party. Another example might be, I don't know, anybody else have another example of a focus team for the next 6 months? Web Literacy Kolkata. Great. Or sort of maybe like there's a one web campaign or something like that. Like that would be another example. So generate a long list. You have 10 minutes on both sides. You should probably, don't talk too much about it now. Just like prioritize brainstorming for the time being. Okay, go. Okay, you should be taking another maybe 2 more minutes for this initial brainstorm. The idea is generate lots of ideas. Okay, 1 more minute. Guys, there's going to be so much time later for selfies. Serious. Somebody go grab them. Grab that phone. Pardon me? Okay. 10 seconds. Awesome. You win. Okay, everyone, maybe grab a quick seat. Those at the wall, if you could grab a seat. The wall of appreciation and love. Guys at the back, can you grab a seat? Can you grab a seat? Okay, so here's the exercise we're going to do now. Oh, good. What I'd like you to do is take this list, and this is going to be a super fast activity. Take these lists that you have. Guys. All right. Take these lists that you have, and what I'd like you to do is mark, we're going to do a small exercise in prioritization. And this is just, so to give you a sense, what we're going to do is we're going to take all these sheets after you're done, and we're going to process and come back to this room with a proposal or a couple of different options for proposals of teams. We'll do that tomorrow. So we need a little more information from you to help with that. So the way we're going to prioritize these is if you could mark up to, let's say, 6, maximum 8 total as like absolute priorities. So like, and the way that I want you to mark those is with a little superscript 1 and a circle around the 1 beside that thing. So does everybody understand what I mean? So like beside that line, just put a 1 and a circle around it. So anything that is an absolute priority, you must see. You would die if that was not a functional group or a focus group, or a functional team or a focus team. Please prioritize that. What would be great is for those that are not in that 6 to 8, if you could just maybe identify some that like are pretty important, but you're not sure if they fit into that, and just write maybe beside that a couple of comments on why that's pretty important. That would be great. So the main task, though, is 6 to 8 that are absolute priorities. And you like if you have lots on the focus side, you can also do 6 to 8 on the focus side, but like mainly the functional side. So 6 to 8 total ideally, and then anything else that doesn't fit into that priority, just write some comments beside it if you think it's really important. Okay, clear? You have like 3 to 5 minutes for this, so super fast. let me just tell you what we're going to be doing with that. So we're going to be processing this overnight, coming back to all of you with a proposal in the morning about what those, or in the afternoon, about what those teams look like. And then tomorrow afternoon, we have about 3.5 hours of time to both dig into the final kind of structure and start to do some action planning. Okay. Okay, everyone. Maybe this is better if I'm just talking with voice. All right, fantastic. Okay, we are on live TV for the entire world, who is all hearing you not listen to me. Cool. So we're going to dig into this tomorrow morning again, and get to a place where we can start actually working in these groups. So this is really important. Thank you for the input. Let me say one last thing on this. If you have any burning questions, me, Kostov, Venetia, Pratamesh, and Deb are all around tonight and would love to chat about this and would love to help answer those questions and also hear that feedback. So please, don't hesitate to grab us. And with that, what I'm going to do, we have an awesome video teed up in a second, but Pratamesh is going to introduce that and get you guys energized and ready for this cool video.
Okay, guys, I'll be very quick. So this was the video which was sent by Julia. She is the Mozilla Club's manager. We have the Mozilla Club program rolling in, and she thought of sharing a video of hers so that the community which is present over here can get a briefing about the future Mozilla Club activities. So George, can we start it?
Hi everyone, I'm Julia. And I'm sorry I can't be there in person to talk to you today. This is a recording, and I hope that it is helpful. There are a few other videos and a presentation that you may have seen already. If not, you will. And they provide more information with this introduction that I'm going to give you about Mozilla Clubs. So first of all, thank you so much for having interest in Mozilla. I hope that you find this helpful, and just know that we welcome suggestions and advice, and we look to our community to help us grow our programs and our initiatives. So all of your feedback is welcome. Mozilla Clubs is a new program. It started in the end of 2014, 2015. So because it's new, it is growing, and we are looking to evolve it and make it stronger for our large community that are contributing to the club's program. We welcome all types of individuals to start clubs. Clubs can be anywhere between a few people to many, many people. They can structure the club to any environment. So clubs can happen in a classroom, they can happen in an after-school environment, they can happen in a cafe, in a technology center, a library, anywhere. And we provide resources and guides that help to show people how to run a club in all of those different environments. We recognize that everyone is different and that everyone has a different skill set, a different background, and a different access to technology. So we really try to be inclusive about how we provide content to share with you all within the framework of a club. We are constantly trying to grow our localized content. So we understand that not everyone speaks the same language, and we need to provide our resources and guides in as many languages as we can. This is a slow process and one that we are still working on, and we look to our community to help us grow those materials so that many more different types of cultures and language speakers can access them. Another way that we like to localize content is culturally. So we understand that a lot of the language we may have included in our materials may not quite make sense in different cultures. So we also look to our community to help us culturalize a lot of the content we have. So along with localizing that stuff, we also are looking for opportunities to share this content in offline environments, so places that do not have access to the internet or do not have access to the technology needed to access the internet. And the way that we have that in place right now is through what we call offline activities, things that teach people how the internet works and how technology works in analog ways, so they're not necessarily having to need to access a computer or the internet. So we really try to reach all different types of people in all different ways possible to provide for them to learn this material. You can find out more information on our website. It's learning.mozilla.org. Under the leadership section, there's a page called Clubs. You can find out about us there. There's also an application there for anyone who's interested in starting a club. They can access that. And there's lots of resources and guides that provide more information about how to do that. So over the next 6 months to 12 months, we will be growing clubs. You will see new pages, new resources show up. And we always are looking for input from our club community to help us do that. We have some online platforms available for contributors. We have a learning forum, and we have a Facebook group that is very large and growing. We also have email relationships with our club captains and club regional coordinators. So emails are sent out regularly to connect and update people. And then I also have office hours to connect to club captains to answer questions. We also have regular community calls and curriculum workshops. So there's a lot of benefits for club captains. They gain access to a whole community of like-minded individuals who are sharing this material and advocating for the open and free web. And they also have access to each other. So we really want people to connect, to collaborate, and to engage with each other so that the program can live and sustain on its own and that people can learn from each other constantly. So that was a lot of talking. I hope it helped a little bit. I think the materials that you'll see will help provide more context and more framework around the club's program. And I look forward to hearing about the event and getting any questions and follow-up afterwards. So thank you and enjoy. And I hope to see you in the club's community sometime soon. Thanks. Bye. Hi, everyone.
Okay, great. Thanks, Julia. All right. So we are really close to the finish line. Between now and dinner is a debrief activity. But before that, I think we need to get a little bit of energy for that. So what I'd like everybody to do is stand up. Stand up, stand up. We're going to do a quick energizer. Get a little bit of energy. Allow ourselves to limber up. So I'm going to put this down.
Okay, guys, before the debrief starts, there is a small announcement from the social media team. Jafar, who is leading our social media efforts, wants to train people, help them understand how social media in India works on the all handles that we have. He'll be having a small talk after dinner at 9:30 in Apollo room. So if you are interested in social media handles and how to, contribute to social media, he'll be there. It's not a functional session, it's just a friendly talk. So he's available at 9:30 in Apollo. Thank you.
Guys, please settle down. I'll make sure that this is a really short one. And this is the last debrief for the day. So, yeah. Please quickly settle down so that we can leave quickly from here. Guys at the back. Can we please quickly settle down? Gautam Raj and group. Okay. Vaibhav and group, are you planning to sit? Okay. Okay, I know guys that we had a really long day, and I really would like to thank you all from the bottom of my heart and from the entire team for staying awake, because I know like most of us have not slept the last night, and still we try to, manage we keep the enthusiasm and the zeal like we had in the morning. So thank you so much for everything, for being alert, attentive, and taking part in the sessions and being present over here all the time. Then, okay, so Devanshi is going to debrief now. So over to Devanshi.
Yeah. So I would like to add to that. We would like to thank all the people who are remotely watching this whole event. Yeah. So we are going to head to our debrief. What we are going to do is quickly make 10 group of 10 people. Can we do that? Quickly, like 1 minute. Quickly. Yeah, like nearby. Yeah. 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 Are all the coordinators there? Okay. Group number 1, 2, center one is 2. Okay, 2. This is the second one. 3, 4, 5, 6, I can see there, yeah. And 7. Okay. So are we all set? Okay. So what we are going to do is, can we change the next slide? Yeah. So what we are going to do is, these are the 2 questions which we need to answer. Like, what did we accomplish today? And personal goal for following day. So you are going to discuss within your group, and one person would be taking notes, and one person would be, at the end, would be coming here, or maybe just stand up there and just summarize the, the activity. So quickly, we have 10 minutes. So just start, discussing on these 2 questions. So time starts now. So guys, we have 3 more minutes. Uh, 2 more minutes. Guys, we have last 1 minute. Okay. Guys, I think we can wrap it up now. Uh, Group number 1 can start with the summary. Uh, uh, okay. Can we have your, yeah. So yeah, so group number 1 is here. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Hello.
Guys, can we please hear them out?
So regarding the what did we accomplish today, we have summarized to 2 major points. One of the major point was we get to know about the new restructural Mozilla program, which is going to happen, the clubs, and on the root level what it's going to be, we get to know more about the details. The second point is we had different functional sessions which we attended, and that was very insightful. Regarding the second point, personal goal for following day, we have come up with 2 major points. The first point is networking. We are looking forward to meet more people, get to learn from them. And the second point is getting our doubts cleared. So still there are some confusion in the air regarding what is exactly going to be the restructural for Mozilla. So some of the questions are still remaining. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, Yash.
What we accomplished. So we were perfectly punctual, and it was a great meetup overall. And we met so many new people from so many different communities. We learned about the various functional groups and how to contribute to them. the best thing is the feeling of being a part of something so huge, that the feeling that I am responsible and a part of the team that is responsible for restructuring Mozilla India. So, so much enthusiasm, commitment, and dedication, even at the end of the day, and the feeling of being together. So that was what we accomplished today. Goals for tomorrow: better understanding of Mozilla India structure, etc. Clear idea of new programs, and taking lots of pics and selfies, capturing memories, waking up on time, and talk to as many people as possible. So yeah.
Thanks, Shagufta.
Hi everybody. Thank you, thank you. Okay, calm down, calm down. Okay, so in my team there are few new faces, so they learn, get connected with new people. So also they learn how Mozilla and they are get connected, how what they can do for Mozilla, and Mozilla how Mozilla will help them in getting some personal skills as well as professional skills. Also, they learned about club, community, and connected peoples, how they work and how they get connected. They also learned about functional teams, what are the functional teams and how they work. So these are the things they accomplished today. For the second note, what personal goal we get today. So first thing that every in a common frame that get connected with community again after any year. Learn new projects like Web VR, Rust, but still thinks that we missed one of another project. So I think that will be corrected in the next session. We also played or guided team for the particular topics for a particular moment, and that is the best thing that we learned today. Thanks. Thanks everybody.
Okay, so most of us here, mostly we discussed what we accomplished today was more of on a personality, on a personal level. We got to know different personalities which are present here, and on a personal note, some personality traits such as leadership skills, overcoming stage fear, and teamwork. So we got to accomplish or we got to know more about ourselves here. Then the new structure for Mozilla India, we got to know that. So we accomplished something more knowledgeable about the new structure today. Then some Rust and some contribution areas we got to know, new contribution areas which were not known on a bigger scale, such as MozVR, that we got to know. Rust we got to know more, and Mozilla brand we got to know today. So that is what we accomplished today. Personal goal for tomorrow would be mostly to get to know the new functional areas which are there tomorrow. Then maintaining energy throughout the day, that was important. And yeah, so mostly, yeah, Anivar has a goal to prepare more slides for tomorrow about advocacy. And George has a goal to be with more people on a smaller group instead of on stage.
Thanks, Vishal.
Good evening. So the first question, what did we accomplish today? So the first one was by Rish. He got to accomplish that. He got to know which specific area he wants to learn, which specific area he wants to contribute to. So other thing was like importance of restructuring the community. Then Mozilla's next 5 years plan, and more alignment towards the goals. Rust was also good. We got to learn personal leadership, more reach out to the different community peoples, networking. And the next question, personal goal for following day. So Rahul's goal is to get the queries resolved, which are yet to be resolved. Then learn more about tech speakers program, plan about collaboration with other communities, plan about campus program, next 5 years plan, get more understanding of campus club, find better ways of interaction with other communities, to restructure the regional communities to gather more data of the local communities and the local volunteers. And Rahul wants his that hooter back, so if someone has give it to him, give it him back.
For the first answer, for the first one, like we came to meet with emerging leaders of the India, and so many new faces in the event, and we got to know about the contribution pathways like Mozilla and REST, and learned group engagement activities. Beside this, we got the deeper understanding of the internet or community issues, and understanding why Mozilla needs branding.
And the second question, personal goal for the following day. So I think the first personal goal is to continue more about the restructure and how it is going to, I mean, when it is going to come into from planning stage to execution stage, and simultaneously try to attend more sessions because everything is interesting here. And punctuality. So we want to attend, I mean, every session at the right time so that everything goes on quickly and we can cover more of everything. And get enough sleep because it has been like straight 12 hours today, so everyone of us want to get enough sleep. And personal goal of me, Mayur and Tanay is at the end of tomorrow, everyone should be aware of where the campus program is heading and where, I mean, how they can be a part of it. So that's our personal goal. Yeah.
Thanks, Santosh.
Okay, to wrap it up real quickly, most of the points have already been mentioned, so I won't be repeating them. We accomplish making cool group activities, and we learned about personality types. That was by Vignesh. Apart from that, our personal goal is to work on the action plan, to know more about the action plan. So the mindset of this group is basically to get, set, go. So now we have a structure. How do we get, set, go? That is the mindset. And yeah, we also aim to wrap up all the discussions we've been having over the day so that it comes to a nice closure. And mine and Prashant's personal goal is to use the swimming pool tomorrow if time and the weather permits. So yeah, and that's a wrap.
Okay, so I think this group has something to add. Yeah.
So I would like to add a few points to our tomorrow's personal goals. One is we'd like to hear more about the personal experiences of people who have started local communities and what difficulties they have faced and how they succeeded over time. So that will be a really good thing. Another thing is having a collaborative space, like some people may be good in something and other person may be good at something else. So there can be a brainstorming or idea generation session where we can create awesome things like coming from different aspects. So another thing is knowing more people and probably remembering their names because we remember people by faces, and even that is difficult, but another proposal is having their photographs on the envelopes. Yeah, okay. Another suggestion for the next to have like attend both the functional sessions. Like many people wanted to attend different functional sessions at the same time, but it wasn't possible, but maybe it can be arranged. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for the debrief, and I'll be making few announcement today, like dinner at 8:30 p.m. outside this room. For tomorrow, we'll be starting sharp at 9. So again, we'll have to be super punctual like today. Everything went smooth. Then for group photo, we'll be gathering here at 10:30 a.m. Like it's a tea break time. So during that time, we'll be gathering here for the group photo, and make sure that you wear your t-shirts you got today. Carry your iCards and make sure your iCard has this, again, the colored dot. So make sure it's there. So I would like to thank everyone, and I think we can get up and like cheers or some, big round of applause for everyone. Yeah. 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 So I'm handing it over to Vanisha.
So guys, before we leave, so can we hear it once again? Little louder. How are we feeling now? How are we feeling now? Okay, I didn't hear. Woo!
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. All girls all over the world. Original King Julian for the girls, man. I love how all the girls I love to move their body. When you move your body, you know move it nice and sweet and sassy. Alright? Woman, you cute and you don't need no makeup. Original cute body makeup on model. Woman, you cute and you don't need no makeup. Original cute body makeup on model. Woman, physically fit, physically fit, physically fit. Woman, physically fit, physically fit, physically fit. Woman, nice, sweet, fantastic. Big ship body ocean at the big Titanic. Woman, nice, sweet, energetic. Big ship body ocean at the big Titanic. Woman, nice, sweet, fantastic. Big ship body ocean at the big Titanic. Woman, nice, sweet, fantastic. Big ship body ocean at the big Titanic. Woman, I like.
हमेशा याद सतावे I don't know what you're saying All I know is that I came to party तेरी तो हमेशा याद सतावे I don't know what you're saying All I know is that I came to party There's a party going on And they're playing your favorite song So girl, get your ass on the floor I don't wanna hear no more I don't want no excuse You got rhythm, so put it to use Hey, if you really wanna get down Take my hand and let me spin you around There we go, there we go, there we go
आए नी कसूर सारा उच्ची हट्टी ही यादा दिल पे सिलता जावे तेरा आए नी कसूर सारा उच्ची हट्टी ही यादा
Just for me It's your boy
उच्ची हट्टी ही यादा
ए सौदा करा करा ए सौदा करा करा।
अपना भरोसा अपनी दुकान, अभी Amazon ऐप डाउनलोड करें।
This is the tribute to Talaiwa.
हेलो हेलो हेलो।
थोड़ा राउंड घुमा के अन्ना के जैसा चश्मा लगा के कोकोनट में लस्सी मिला के आ जाओ सारे मूड बना के। पूछो तो थोड़ा राउंड घुमा के अन्ना के जैसा चश्मा लगा के कोकोनट में लस्सी मिला के आ जाओ सारे मूड बना के। All the Rajni fans, don't miss that chance. All the Rajni fans, don't miss that chance. Lungi dance, 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 lungi dance. डिस्को में जब ये गाना बजेगा on the floor आना पड़ेगा, लुंगी को उठाना पड़ेगा, स्टेप करके दिखाना पड़ेगा। डिस्को में जब ये गाना बजेगा on the floor आना पड़ेगा, लुंगी को उठाना पड़ेगा, स्टेप करके दिखाना पड़ेगा। All the Rajni fans, don't miss that chance. All the Rajni fans, don't miss that chance. Lungi dance, 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 lungi dance.
हेलो हेलो।
तू चंडीगढ़ तो आई नहीं, चंडीगढ़ तो आई नहीं। तेनू देख के होके भरदे ने खड़े चौंका विच सपाही नहीं। टोटी ते काला दिल कुड़िए, टोटी ते काला दिल कुड़िए, जो धागे चलदे पकड़े ते तेनू काला चश्मा, तेनू काला चश्मा, तेनू काला चश्मा जचदा है, जचदा है तोरे मुखड़े ते, तेनू काला चश्मा जचदा है। कुड़ी ने लुधियाना भी नी टप्पे सी, टप्पे सी, टप्पे सी। पहला था कुड़ी ने लुधियाना भी नी टप्पे, अच्छे भी ना करो बार पैर भी नी रखे। जदों दी मैडम जिस शहर विच आई बस पार्टी दियां गल्लां करदी रहिंदी ए कुड़ी। सैटरडे सैटरडे करदी रहिंदी ए कुड़ी, सैटरडे सैटरडे करदी रहिंदी ए। Saturday, 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 Saturday.
முகம் போட்டே மாறி கொடந்து கபத்தில் மாட்டி புடிச்சு பிஸ்டாஸ் மாக்கிரா சோமாரி ஜமாக்கிராயா, பிஸ்டாஸ் மாக்கிரா சோமாரி ஜமாக்கிராயா। சுருக்கருக்கா முகம் போட்டே மாறி கொடந்து கபத்தில் மாட்டி புடிச்சு பிஸ்டாஸ் மாக்கிரா சோமாரி ஜமாக்கிராயா,